UFOs are real, burgeoning, not going away. This is the coming Great Deception. This is a mixing of the seed. This is a reflection of Genesis 3:15. I think you'll find this show extremely interesting, even though it's over a year old. Obviously, we're not going to show the whole thing here, but this woman is bold, and you notice what they're talking about, and they're so far ahead of mainstream media here in the States. So we'll get into that first. A word from our very trusted sponsor. We've all seen the headlines about Ozempic and similar miracle weight loss shots. But what most people don't realize is this. A major analysis just found out that people who stop taking these weight loss injections gain nearly all their weight back within a year. That's the catch. These drugs only work while you're on them. They're expensive, and the moment you stop, your body fights back. Folks, this is why GLP-1 Elevate is the weight management results we've all been waiting for. Folks, it will help your body naturally trigger the same hunger-controlling, craving-reducing signals that Ozempic would, but without needles, prescriptions, or the scary side effects. It also promotes fullness, helps reduce hunger hormones, supports fat loss instead of muscle loss, and helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels. Folks, for a limited time, you can grab a bag of BioTrust GLP-1 Elevate for 40% off by going to trimwithla.com. That's trimwithla.com. Plus, you'll also receive a 60-day satisfaction guarantee and free express shipping on subscriptions. Once again, go to trimwithla.com, trimwithla.com. You're not going to listen to this. 60-day money-back guarantee. This GLP-1, it will boost those levels by over 50%. You'll enjoy longer-lasting appetite management benefits, lower the hunger hormone to reduce cravings, and, of course, free shipping on every order. Once again, trimwithla.com. That's trimwithla.com. Thank you all for coming on our Deception 2026 conference. Had nothing but great feedback. Over 2,500 people signed up. Really cool. And we're not done with that yet. We'll see what the Lord has in store for us. But it's really good to be obedient in the sense of Lord told us to stop doing conferences, so we did. And then after the Act of Disclosure, we came up with the idea of this conference as pushback. So I'm going to run the clip here. I'm not going to run the whole thing and then go back. I will run it and stop and comment. So here we go.
For our last story tonight, let's talk about aliens. They live among us, and they have been doing so for years. They're an advanced species. They're highly intelligent, and they hide in a secret base here on Earth by disguising themselves as humans.
Okay, so that is one of the most bold statements I have ever heard in my entire life. They are living amongst us in a base somewhere on the planet. They are highly intelligent. Excuse me, this is all a lot of conjecture on Palki's part here. Of course, she's reading off a teleprompter, but, she's great, and I watch her almost daily because she has actual real news, about what's going on in Iran, just what I really want to know. Okay, let's continue.
Sounds like the plot of Men in Black. Maybe the movie was ahead of its time because a new study says that this could be true. You're not making this up?
Let me stop you right there. This is typical of an alien abduction. This picture is very, very disturbing to me. This is exactly what happened to Karen, Al, and Emil. Not so much Angela. It was later on, at least as far as we know. But this scenario is exactly what happened to Al Matthews and Emil and Karen Wilkerson. Karen Wilkerson, of course, is the author of Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. There's the gray in the room. There's the kid, prepubescent, 6, 7 years old, and he's about to go through the window. And this is not a good thing. It's never a good thing. If you have not seen and I know it's what it sounds like, you can watch our film, any of our films, streaming.marzulli.net. Nobody's got DVD players. If you want a DVD, we can give it to you, but streaming.marzulli.net. Go to number 4. It's on abductions. Go to number 4 and watch abductions. You can see Karen and Emil and Al Matthews. Both of those guys were just on the conference over the weekend. And of course, Karen's presentation was through the roof, Karen Wilkinson. So let's continue.
It's been conducted by researchers at the Harvard University, and they say aliens may be walking among humans as humans. Researchers have three hypotheses. First, aliens have come from a different time period or planet. Second, they had evolved on Earth but separately from humans. And third, they come from an ancient civilization that was not completely destroyed.
Okay, what about four? That these are interdimensional entities with a very nefarious agenda. They can manipulate space, time, matter, and energy in ways that completely defy our physics. There was a fourth one. So, Harvard professors, let's rewrite your script a little bit. Let's continue.
The study also says that aliens possibly function out of a secret location. They could be living underground or in multiple regions on Earth that Gen Z would probably call sus, meaning suspicious. Like the Alaskan Triangle, which has been dubbed Alaska's Bermuda Triangle. Some experts claim that it has been ground zero for unexplained events, including more than 20,000 disappearances since the 1970s. Yes, it all sounds like a conspiracy theory at best, so understandably, the study is raising a lot of eyebrows. And the researchers get it. They concede that these theories are hard to sell, especially in the scientific community. And the paper has yet to be peer-reviewed, so take it with a pinch of salt. But the goal here is not to unsettle scientists. It is to...
I'm going to stop right here. So what you're looking at, notice the elongated skull. And I talked about this actually in the Nephilim trilogy. That's a work of fiction, but it's based on research. So what you're looking at here may be a depiction of what the tall whites look like. So this is, stay with me here. What if this is what a fallen angel looks like in its true form? Why? Because it's no longer in the presence of a living God and it becomes emaciated. Just saying, if you're getting your sustenance, let's say you're an angel, you know, and when you say angel, this is a little guy with little wings fluttering around playing a harp. These are powerful entities in the throne room of El Shaddai, God Almighty. And you rebel, and you no longer have access to that light, to that energy coming from the throne room. Would you atrophy? Or what we're looking at here, is this atrophy? I don't know. It's conjecture. But the more I look at this and the more I walk through it, makes me wonder, are we looking at atrophy? This is what they look like after thousands of years of not being in the presence of the Most High God. Let's continue.
Questions, because aliens are having a moment. Over the past few years, pilots say they have seen extraterrestrial beings. The Pentagon has a new office to look into sightings. Governments have held hearings. NASA has gotten involved, and UFOs have been rebranded. They're no longer called unidentified flying objects or UFOs. They're now unidentified anomalous phenomena.
Now, it's really important that we walk through that because for decades, if you said UFO, it has a certain stigma with it, doesn't it? You saw a UFO, maybe you're, not all right in the head here, Bucky. So that's how that was trouble you, Bucky. So it's like I just had to throw the invitation in their house. So unprofessional, LA. But no, seriously, folks, they changed the verbiage, didn't they? Now it's UAP. And somehow it's okay to talk about it because they are talking about it. In our halls of Congress, they are talking about it. Remember, this is a year old. But I love this because they're not afraid to say it. Aliens might be walking amongst us. That is the title of Dr. David Jacobs' book, They Walk Amongst Us. If you haven't read that book yet, it's a must read. Here we go.
So far, so complicated. But the thing is, despite the shebang, we still don't know enough about aliens. So the study means to take the discussion forward. It wants to ask questions about unidentified observations made around the world every year. After all, just last year, a former Pentagon official went public. He made an explosive allegation in the U.S. Congress. He said that the government had been keeping crashed UFOs and dead aliens.
I have run with the story. I've talked about it numerous times here. And what I love about this is, David Grush stands up in Congress, raises his right hand, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, all that. And then he looks up at Nancy Mason and goes, we have recovered non-human biologics. Now, what do you do with that? That is incredible information. And what I love about Palki, she's rhymed with it. You know, she's actually reporting the news. That's why I watch her almost daily, because you actually get some news. You're not getting this spin, because if you watch CNN, you get a spin. If you watch Fox News, you get a spin. I don't care about the spin. Just tell me what's going on. Okay, here we go.
It was a wild accusation. And this year, the Pentagon quashed the claims. No surprise there. Now, not to sound like a conspiracy theorist myself, but doesn't all of this stir doubt?
Okay, so let me stop there. Unidentified anomalous phenomena, right? More commonly known, has found no evidence that extraterrestrial intelligence has visited Earth. This is what Nat Geo is saying, too. Same thing. Excuse me. We've got video of pilots and tic-tac-shaped objects and observers coming up. I mean, age of disclosure. When you get all these different people, one-star admirals and generals, Marco Rubio, for crying out loud, comes on the record. You've got congressmen, congresswomen, scientists, physicists. Hey, we're not alone in the universe. How can they say something like this? So there's an element in our government that doesn't want this to come out. There's no doubt about that. Doesn't want it to come out. And that's what we're looking at, this push and pull between those who want to reveal and those who don't. Now, the reason why we can't, just so you know, with the conference, and we talked about this, is what happens if Donald Trump, and you've heard me say this before, what happens if Donald Trump stands up on a Friday night and goes, and his cabinet's behind him and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and, you know, maybe it's not in the Oval Office, it's in that section when he walks down the hallway in the White House, and, you know, he finally gets to the podium and goes, we're not alone in the universe. We have been visited. They have given us, you know, and he just unpacks the thing. How's that going to change everything? It's going to change everything. Is this the coming great deception? In my opinion, it is. This will change everything. This is a mega lever which changes your paradigm like that. Would this cause the great falling away? So I'm going to take a leap here. We know from 1 Timothy chapter 4, the Spirit, remember, Paul is time traveling because that's what he's doing. The Lord is showing him the future. The Spirit expressly says that in the latter times, in the latter days, some will depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and the doctrine of demons. Not making this up. So, you know, Paul, Holy Spirit's taking him through time, and he looks around, and this is what's going on. And then he writes it. And this is why I call it the coming great deception. Would this change your faith? Would it cause you to falter? And that's why we do a show every day. That's why we report you on the whole UAP phenomenon. Let's continue.
Modern obsession with UFOs goes back to 1947, to the famous alleged UFO crash in the U.S.
Now, that was Jesse Marcel Jr. that you see, and I believe there's Gemma Ramey with the Telegram. We actually did a whole thing on this in our two Roswell films. You can go once again streaming. We're all over this. That telegram that Ramey's holding, and this is David Rudiak, who zoomed in on my telegram and basically deciphered it. Bodies recovered, you know, craft, UFO, whatever, the craft is being sent up to right field. I'm not making this stuff up. That's why our two films on Roswell. And, you know, this whole thing with the weather balloon nonsense, to think that's why we made the film Exoneration. Because to think that Jesse Marcel Sr., the intelligence officer of the 509th Bombing Group, are you kidding me? This guy is brilliant. He's trained. It's not Elmer Fudd, folks. He's not going to confuse. He's not going to confuse a weather balloon for material that he's never handled. We went out to the debris field. You see me with this. There it is. It's right in here. It's folded in on so. We took it under a scanning electron microscope, our lab here in Los Angeles. It's right between two node aluminum alloys. Doesn't fit. I was there. We have it on film. And the woman's going, well, maybe we need a bigger piece. I said, well, that's not going to happen. And she kept going, well, it's like it will do this one, but then it's not that one. And then it goes to the one next to it. No, it's not that one either. And Chuck Zukowski had the same results, same with Frank Kimbler. And thank you, Chuck, and thank you, Frank, for taking our team out to the debris field. It is in the middle of nowhere. Let's continue.
the government quickly claimed that it was a weather balloon. But in 1997, they admitted to lying to conceal that it was actually debris from a top-secret Air Force project. It was called Mughal, and it was designed to detect Soviet nuclear tests. And the US is not alone here. Governments across the world have been accused of ridiculing the study of UFOs. And this is strange because these are legitimate questions. So decades later, trust has eroded. There are 10 to 50 billion potentially habitable worlds in our galaxy.
Stop right there. And I got that. It's a great statement. And it's true. How is it in the book of Revelation, chapter 8, verse 12, and a third of the stars were shut off and lost their light? Think on that. How does he switch those off? A third of the stars? Are we in a holographic universe? How do you roll up the heavens like a scroll? Oh, well, that's just allegory. No, it's not. In the book of Revelation, chapter 8, verse 12, and a third of the stars stopped giving their light. What switch does the Lord throw to make that happen? How does that work? We don't know. But you can see, obviously that's stars in a galaxy. How does he switch off a third? How does he do that? Let's continue.
The only good news is that people seem to be taking this topic more seriously now. Like on Mars, a rover has collected samples to study existence of life. There are probes on some moons in our solar system, and scientists are actively using artificial intelligence for a little help. NASA recently assembled a team to study UFOs. They say a rigorous, evidence-based, data-driven scientific framework is essential, and they're right. But we say, what is scientific framework without some questions?
I just love going to Palki Sharma and watching her. As I said earlier, she's just amazing. It's an older clip, but she's not afraid to go there. She's not afraid to go there. And you remember, she's reading off a teleprompter and someone is creating the news, but it's just a great network. They actually have real news. Folks, if you have not seen our Deception 2026 conference, you can go to our website, marzulli.com. It's there. You can pay for it. You can watch it. It's, last weekend was when we actually showed the conference, but, and we've had nothing but great reports. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. And tell a friend. All good. I'll be back again tomorrow with another show. It's what I do. Ken Johnson will be joining us along with Tom Dunn very soon. Ken is the author of lots of books and Dead Sea Scrolls and others, where he goes in and looks and talks about the Dead Sea Scrolls. Fantastic stuff. What the early church fathers thought. And that's a great book to get. And then Tom Dunn. Tom Dunn was Russ Dizdar's protege, sort of his right-hand man. And Tom will be joining us in the near future. Actually, I'm interviewing both men tomorrow, and I'm not sure what the post maybe over the weekend. Once again, members, please don't despair. Please stick with us. We are now doing one members show exclusive a week, just one, not two. How we got the two, I don't know. One members, but it is exclusive. It's stuff that I have filmed in interviews and that we haven't done anything with. You will find that incredible stuff. This week, I sat down with a druid, a real-life druid in the plains of England in Avebury. And I think if you're a member, when that posts, go check it out. Thanks for watching. Remember, folks, we'll be back tomorrow. We do a show every single day. The time is now. Things are happening. It's the last of the last days. I don't know. I'm not a date setter, but I think he returns next Wednesday. Of course, I'm being glib here. Thanks so much for watching, folks. God bless you. If you don't know Jesus and you're going, Ellie, what's this? How do I get it? How does this work? You confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe that God raised him from the dead, and you will be saved. Well, so that's it. If it was any harder than that, as my first mentor, Wayne Kendall, would say, we couldn't do it. Jesus is Lord. And yes, God raised him from the dead. That's it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow.